Hey folks, welcome back to the channel. In today's video, I'm going to walk you through a fully optimized Warzone PC setup designed specifically for NVIDIA's new 50 series GPUs with one clear objective: achieving over 240 frames per second at 4K resolution. We'll be covering every setting that matters, from in-game graphics to the NVIDIA control panel, display configuration, and HDR tuning. Follow along step by step, and by the end of this guide, your system will be running Warzone at the level that these GPUs were built for: ultra smooth, ultra responsive, and pushing the absolute limits of 4K performance. Okay, so the first settings that we're going to look at are NVIDIA control panel. So in your Windows search bar, search for NVIDIA control panel, open NVIDIA control panel, and then we're interested in these settings on the left. So we're going to start at the top with adjust image settings with preview. We're going to leave this at let the 3D application decide. For manage 3D settings, we're not going to touch anything. For configure surround physics, just make sure that your NVIDIA 50 series graphics card is shown here. For resolution, I'm assuming that you're watching this video because you're gaming at 4K, so set your native resolution at 4K and set your refresh rate at the highest available. For me, on this 4K monitor, I can achieve 144 Hz. For your NVIDIA color settings, set it at highest 32-bit, 10 BPC, full and RGB, and then apply that down in the bottom right corner here. For adjust desktop color settings, you do not want to change anything in here. So if historically you've been using digital vibrance and had it switched up higher at like perhaps 65 or something, set it back down to 50. Okay. Nothing to change in rotate display. Nothing to change in HDCP status. Nothing to change in digital audio. For adjust desktop size and position, this should be marked as aspect ratio, display, 4K, and the highest refresh rate that you can achieve on your monitor. For G-Sync, you do not want to use G-Sync, okay? Because we're aiming to get the highest frames possible. So switch off G-Sync. For multiple displays, there's nothing to change. For video color settings and video input settings, there's nothing to change. So that is us. We're now done with NVIDIA control panel, and we're going to move on now to look at display settings. Right click on your home screen, scroll down to display settings, click that, switch on HDR provided you have an HDR capable monitor. Double check that your display resolution is set to 4K and ensure that in the advanced display section you have your refresh rate set to the highest possible. So search for HDR in your Windows search bar and that will bring up your HDR settings. Once you bring up your HDR settings, make sure that you have HDR switched on and then choose HDR display calibration. When you choose this, it should take you to the Windows Store where you should download the Windows HDR Calibration tool if you do not already have it. If you do have it, then open it up. Once you've opened the HDR Calibration tool, click Get Started, and then change these settings underneath until you can no longer see the boxes. Okay. And you just want to make each box become invisible. Okay. This last step is entirely up to you. I recommend that you set it about here, about 70%. Once you do that, you click Finish. This will now associate this HDR profile with your HDR settings for your PC. In the game, later, we'll also change some HDR settings to make sure that these are absolutely correct for you. For your SDR content brightness, I would recommend setting this about 75. So when you're looking at standard content, it's about 75 is about right. Okay. Some tweaks will come down to your individual monitor, but these settings broadly are the correct settings. Next, you're going to want to open the game. Once you have the game open, move over to your graphics tab and display. Set the display mode to full screen exclusive. Your display monitor should be your 4K HDR monitor. Your display adapter should be your 50 series graphics card. Your screen refresh rate should be the highest possible, and you'll see that that matches what we changed in display settings and what we changed in NVIDIA control panel. The same with your display resolution, it should be 4K. Your aspect ratio should be automatic. Your display gamma should be 2.2. You will not be able to change NVIDIA Reflex low latency. You need it to be on. Normally there's the option for on and boost, but the settings that we're going to use, as you will see in the quality tab, are going to keep this set at on. Okay. For your custom frame limit, leave it as unlimited because we want to test whether or not you're going to get the full 240 frames that you're going to be looking for here. Then for your HDR modes, you want to select automatic, and then you want to calibrate it here, and you want to make the Call of Duty sign barely visible. I'd say this is good enough. And similarly, you want to make this next Call of Duty sign barely visible. Okay. Once you've done this, apply your settings. Move over into the quality tab, which you can see up the top middle. Your graphic preset will be custom. Your render resolution will be 4K at 100. Switch dynamic resolution off. For upscaling and sharpening, set it to NVIDIA DLSS. And then you want this following preset: quality, 65 sharpness, transformer model. And then, excuse me, for NVIDIA DLSS frame generation, you want to switch this on and you want to select 4 times. Now what that's going to do is it's going to use AI to generate additional frames. Some people have a concern that these frames are fake or will add additional latency or something else. On the 50 series cards, you are not going to experience any challenge whatsoever. You're going to have the absolute clearest possible picture, and provided your monitor already has a good latency, You will be absolutely fine. You will not have any challenges. These are not fake frames. They will not create a blur or any other problem. Not on a 50 series card. You can trust me 100% on that. I've got multiple wins under my belt. I never have any issues when I'm engaged in gunfights or anything else. Any issues of stutter or any latency problems whatsoever. Okay, so set your NVIDIA DLSS multi-frame generation to 4 times, switch off ray tracing reflections, set your VRAM scale target to 70, and make sure you do not have variable rate shading on. Make sure this is off, because this is what creates a jaggedness at the edge of your screen. It keeps the center of your screen very clear, but it creates a jaggedness around the edges, a blur, a little bit like depth of field. You do not want that switched on when you need to be identifying enemies on your screen. Okay, for every other setting, here's how you should have it set up. Texture resolution high, texture filter anisotropic ultra, depth of field off, detail quality high, particle resolution high, bullet impacts on, persistent effects on, shader quality high, on-demand texture streaming. You can decide here whether you want it optimized or minimal. I recommend that you set it to optimized for the absolute best experience with your shaders. Local texture streaming quality default, in-game video quality high, in-game video quality high, shadow quality ultra, screen space shadows high, occlusion ultra, screen space reflections high, static reflection quality high, terrain quality very high, volumetric quality you're going to want to set low, because that's what puts that haze across your screen. So you want this to be set low. You can't switch it off completely, but switch it down to low. Deferred physics quality high. Weather grid volumes, they don't really matter in Warzone. They don't exist, but leave it on ultra, because if you're playing multiplayer, you can leave this on. Water quality all. Now, I'm sure you're used to historically turning all your settings down to low, having to mess about with things, having a grainy picture but lots of frames. If you're running a 50 card, you can run this game at the absolute highest settings using all these settings that I've given you, and you will see not only will you get a perfect visual fidelity, but you will get masses of frames with no issue in regard to those frames. So once you've saved this down, go over to view, set your field of view to 120, set your ADS field of view to affected, your weapon field of view to wide, turn off world and weapon motion blur, set your camera movement to least 50 for these two, and that's you. You are good to go. Once you've done that, go back into graphics, go to display, and restart your shaders. When you've done that, restart the game, join me back in here. Okay, now that you have restarted your game, go into interface, go to color customization, go down to your color filter settings, change this setting to filter 2, change your filter target to both, and change your world color intensity to 100. Once you've done that, save it down. That's everything you need to do in your graphic settings. So far we've gone through your NVIDIA control panel settings, your display settings, your HDR calibration, and your in-game settings for your graphics. There's a couple of things more to look at. So once your shaders have finished installing, shut the game down and go back to your desktop and I'll get you there. Okay, so we have dealt with all of your graphic settings. They are going to look absolutely amazing now. What we want to do is we want to make sure that your gaming PC is running for Warzone purposes as absolutely perfectly as it can be, so there's nothing holding it back from delivering all these frames and all this kind of visual fidelity that you want. So a couple of things that are worth checking. Open up your task manager, and in your task manager you may well notice, if you're using Battle.net, that Call of Duty is open, but also Call of Duty Black Ops 6 is open. And you'll be asking yourself, why the heck is Black Ops 6 open on Battle.net when I'm playing Warzone and Black Ops 7? That's because there is a bug in the game. So if you're using Battle.net and you're on PC, when you load up the game and you can see your character, walking in the pre-lobby, you don't need to run a game, but just when you see your character walking, if you come into your task manager, you'll be able to see that Black Ops 6 is running too. Okay, it's a glitch. So right click on it and end that task. One final tip, if you normally record your gameplay on OBS and you're worried that playing the game in HDR is going to mess with you recording the game, in OBS you can make sure this isn't a problem. These are the video settings that you want. Okay, so it's these ones here. So I'll just leave it on screen for a few seconds or pause the video and make sure that this is what you're using. And there's one other setting as well, which, yeah, force SDR. So how you get that, guys, you have to use display capture. You can't use game capture when you're playing in HDR, but the workaround is right click on display capture, properties, and then click force SDR, and then you will play the game in HDR, but your OBS will record it in SDR, and then okay, folks, so those are all the settings that I can give you. You should now be able to play the game in 4K, ultra settings, DLSS on, DLSS frame generation on, your monitor, your game, your task manager, your graphics, your display settings, your NVIDIA control panel, your OBS recording. Everything should be absolutely fixed. You should get 240 frames or more, and you should have amazing 4K fidelity. I hope this video has helped you. I'm leaving the rest of the gameplay from this game running in the background because it just allows you to see the visual fidelity of the game. Maybe you're thinking about buying a 50 card and you're not sure what type of monitor to buy. You're thinking, can I buy a 240 hertz 4K monitor to use with my 50 graphics card? How am I going to get 240 frames? Hopefully this video is going to help you. And at the end of the day, even if you're playing at a lesser hertz, like 144, then you can customize your DLSS frame generation to 2 times or 3 times instead of 4 times, and that will bring you right up to 144 hertz or 200 hertz, whatever your monitor runs at. But I really hope these settings have helped you. If they have, I'd be really grateful if you could drop a like. If I can help you with your settings at all, feel free to drop a comment in the comments section. I'll always respond. Thank you so much for watching today's video. It's been a long one. If you've made it this far, well done. Ask me any questions you've got. I'll always help out. Have a great rest of your weekend. Enjoy playing Warzone. I hope you're looking forward to Blackout, and maybe these settings are going to help you when Blackout's released. Take care. Peace.
On the top. mate, back. Nice one. Got him.
Squad it! I thought the whole team was... Yeah, but I thought the whole, like, our team was right there, but it wasn't. Fuck's sake.
Yeah, behind there again. Smoke, rise.
यार उसको तो पूरा करें
I'm rising, cover me.
यार
LDPR salvo ready for launch.
जगह
Closing in. Get to the new safe zone. You're in the top 3. Don't let up now. Some of your squad is outside the safe zone. Changing mag. Marking loot. They almost had me. Right, I'll take the dome.
Yeah, get out, mate, back there.
Tagging waypoint.
Quick.
Enemy movement.
Ah, we haven't got enough. Blue, can you get on, mate, back quick?
Yeah.
Blue, I need cash.
They almost had me.
Cash. Cash.
Need some dough. Moving here.
Blue. Cash.
Yeah, not this time. Enemy moving. Need some dough.
Mate, give us some cash. Oh my days.
Losing ground. Moving. Got a buy station here. Yeah, not this time. Loading new mag. They almost had me. The last 2. Now finish this. Yeah, not this time. Changing mags. Gas is closing in. Relocating safe zone. All enemy squads eliminated. That's a job well done.
Sorry, Green, it's hard to get you back.
It's all good, mate.